Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux abalone with my new abalone silk screen. So, if you watched my previous video, which would have been the silk screen demo, you will have seen this piece that I showed in the video, and I promised that I would show you guys how I made it. So it's not going to look exactly the same as this one, as I've made a few tweaks, but this is what I'm going to be showing. So first you're going to need some black polymer clay, and this is Polymer, and this has been run out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine, which is roughly about 2 millimeters thick. Just generally go with the thickest setting on your pasta machine. Then you're also going to need some silver metal leaf, and now I sell this on my Etsy store if you're interested, Jessama design. That's also where I sell the silk screen. So I'm going to take this, it can be a bit fiddly. Just bear with me for a moment. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to stick that down. And then just gently smooth that down onto the clay. And then I trim the clay afterwards. Generally I'll roll out more clay than I need, just so that I've got a large surface to put the metal leaf on, because then it means I don't have to struggle and fuss with the metal leaf to try to get down into the exact right spot. It's just easier working with a larger piece of clay when you're working with metal leaf. Okay, and now all of this black that we're trimming off, that can just go back into wherever you keep your clay, and it can be used for another project, so there's no waste. Okay, now that's just about it for that one, and I'm just going to take a piece of paper and I'm just gently going to burnish this so that we get that silver leaf burnished down onto that clay securely. There we go. Then I'm just going to put this off to the side for the moment, as we are not going to be working with it just yet. And you might be noticing that I'm working on pieces of printing paper. This is just so that the clay doesn't stick. Now what I have here is a piece of translucent Primo polymer clay that has been rolled out on the thinnest possible setting. And I just messed this up, so bear with me for a moment. There we go, had to peel that off. And I'm just going to burnish this flat onto the piece of paper. And now we are going to be sanding our piece, so it doesn't matter if the translucent clay is not like paper thin, because it does allow us to sand later on. But try to get it as thin as you can. Okay, then I'm going to bring over my silk screen, which is this beautiful imitation of the abalone pattern. As you can see, and I'm just finding the corner. And now these ones have a sticky back, and so they might take a little bit to peel off of your piece, but there we go. Now I'm just going to choose a spot that I like. There we go. Smooth that down. Actually, yep, that's fine. Now because of the sticky back, it will sit down nicely on this, so just make sure that it's well stuck. There, you can see that it's well stuck there. And I'm actually going to transfer it to my tile so that when I lift the silk screen off, it doesn't stick to the silk screen, because I don't want that to happen. Okay. Okay. Then I've just got some black acrylic paint here. There we go. Don't need a huge amount. I'll just use this swipe, like so, very easy. Just making sure that I cover the entire area and that I get rid of any excess paint. Okay, and I'll lift that up, and you can see what a beautiful print that's left. I'm now going to go put this into a sink to clean it. Okay, and there we go. So that has dried now. You want to make sure it's completely dry before you move on to the next step. Next step is going to require alcohol inks. So I have a few different colours. You can use whatever colours you want, whichever ones you think match with abalone, but these are the ones that I have. So I have latte, clover, pistachio, mermaid, and aquamarine. Okay, and I've just opened those off to the side. Then I've got some nice brushes. I've got one wide brush and I've got one small brush. We're mostly going to be using the small brush. And I'm going to start with the aquamarine. I'm just going to drop this down. I have a very small amount of this ink left. Might have to swap it out with another one actually. Let's see. Okay, I didn't end up having enough of that, so I'm going to swap it out with this Pinata ink, which is basically the exact same colour. Very similar anyway. And I'll start out with that. Let's drop that down, giving me a little bit. Don't add too much because the ink does dry quite quickly. Just dab that, and let's see where do I want to start. Let's start here. And it's okay if you colour over the top of the black, that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to go into some areas and I'm going to paint it blue. And mostly I'm going to try to follow the lines of the pattern so that it looks like it's moulding to the shape of the pattern, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've got some blue there. Then I'm going to move on to the mermaid, which is the next one down. And I'm not going to worry about cleaning off my brush because I want to kind of get the two colours to merge into one another. Okay. Okay, I'll take some of that and put it in here. And now you could of course just take the colours and swish it over as you want. It depends on how meticulous you want to be. It really just depends. You don't have to do it as meticulously as I'm doing. It's completely up to you. Now I'm going to move on to the pistachio, which is a bit more of a green colour. Again, not worrying about cleaning off my brush because I want it to meld into each other. Okay. And I'm just going to show you as I go through the colours first. Let's go over to Clover, which is the next darker green. You can see there that's a little bit of a darker green. So when you're selecting your alcohol inks, just try to get it so you will be able to easily create a blend. That's really all you need to worry about when you're selecting your colours. Okay, and then the last one will be Latte. And see how I'm going back over and brushing areas so that I get a blend going, so it doesn't look like the colours are so it doesn't have a jagged line between the colours. That's quite important. Then I'm going to bring over the latte, which I'll just pop over there, dab a bit, and I will have a little bit of green, which I'm going to just quickly clean my brush off. There we go. And I'm just going to dab that down. And I'll also try to blend that out into the colours. And again, you can choose whichever colours you wish. So now you've seen all the colours and how I'm blending them, I'm going to finish the entire piece. Then when we're done, I'll show you how it looks. Okay, and here we go, we're all done. So you can see how nicely that one turned out. So now we're going to very gently pick this up off the tile. There we go. Okay, and I'll just use, I should have actually just used my knife there to pick it up. There we go. Just being careful because this is very thin. I'm going to put this to the side on a piece of paper and just clean our tile. Okay. Then I'm going to bring over our metal leaf piece. And I'm going to bring over our abalone piece. You can see that looks really good already. Now it's important that you flip it like so. And then just place down like so. Bring over another piece of paper, and then you're going to very gently burnish that onto the black. Because the metal leaf acts almost like a semi-release, you need to make sure that you're pressing down fairly firm. Pressing down around the edges also helps make sure that you get out any air bubbles, working from one end to the other, and then go around and make sure you press those edges as well. Okay, and we're just about done. That should be fine. Then lift that up. Okay, And I might burnish it just a little bit more to get rid of any surface scratches that we may have. But you can already see how that's looking good. You're not going to be able to see the metal leaf just yet because the translucent has to obviously be baked so you can see through it, and also so that you can give it a sand so it's a bit more clear, and also so you can put resin on top. Okay, then I'm just going to trim these edges just so we have a nice clean finish. And then we will start cutting out our pieces. There we go. Okay, so I've got the same circle donut from before. And then I also have some earrings that I would like to put in. I'm going to see if I need to get some small ones. Yes, I do. In the meantime, we can cut out the donut. So let's see how's that going to look. Do I want to put it here? Let's see. Okay, I'm actually going to swap out to this donut with a smaller hole in the middle so that we don't cut out as much stuff. Okay, I'm just going to bring that right up to the edge. Then I've got two earring cutters here which are a bit smaller than the other ones and longer. So I'll put one there, and I want to try to get a bit of yellow on each of them. Okay, so I'll fuss around with where these guys are going to go, and then I'll show you what they look like. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to cut the donut first, so I'll just press that in so that it is secure. Then I'll press these ones in. Like so. And now I have cut them on paper, so they are going to stick in the cutters. If you don't want them to stick in the cutters, cut on a tile or glass piece after you've burnished it. But I'm cutting on the paper because I want to make sure that the backs have a nice smooth finish to them. Okay, so we're just going to lift that out, lift that one out, and so this one, just make sure you've cut nicely. Okay, there we go. Now I'm not going to worry about the middle in this one. Just going to gently poke it out. Shouldn't be stuck that hard. There we go. You see it basically falls out. Smooth around the edges, and we will be tending to the edges later. I'll put in a edge cleaner. I'm just cleaning the inside ring as well, and you can see at the back's nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm going to put that onto a nice clean piece of paper off to the side. And then the same with these ones. You can either use your finger to gently poke them out, or what I like to do is I like to blow them out. There we go. And it means that I don't have to touch them, and they come out very easily. Again, if you don't want them to stick in the cutters, you can always just cut them on a tile, but that will mean that you will probably have to sand the backs. Just smooth the edges, pop them onto a piece of paper, and bake them for a full hour at pretty recommended temperature. Okay, and here they are out of the oven. So now we are going to sand them. Now you don't have to worry about the edges right now. Do give them a light sand, but we are going to fill those in later. You also want to sand the back. And also, while you're sanding, just keep an eye on your surface, because you don't want to sand too far, because you will end up inexplicably sanding straight through the translucent, and once you've done that, essentially you've ruined the piece. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start with a 600 here, because I don't want to start with something too rough. And it's wet. And I'm just going to start sanding. And I'll start with the 600, like so. Then I'll move up to 800, and then finally 1200. And then that will be enough. And we'll be able to move on to resin. And you'll repeat with the earrings as well. Okay, and here is the donut after sanding. You can see that it has a cloudy effect, but hopefully even there you can see that there's slight reflection. I've given the back sand as well, so it's nice and smooth, and I've given the sides a light sand as well, so they're nice and smooth. Same goes for the earring pair that we have. So now the next step is going to be to use this nice metallic pen that I have. I sell this on my Etsy shop if you are interested, and this is going to just help us clean up these edges, as you can see. And now if you're adventurous or have the time, I would recommend doing the Jessama smear, which is essentially where you take clay and you smear it around the edge. But I know that a lot of you do have trouble with that, and it can be quite tricky to master. So if you want to skip that step, you can always just use a metallic pen like this to give the edge a nice clean look. Okay, like so. And I'm using gold so that it reflects the gold that is in the pattern, but I also have a silver pen. And I'll do this for the outside ring and the inside ring on the donut, and then I'll also do it for the edges on the earrings. Okay, and there we go. So now I'm going to bring over some magic gloss, which is a very nice doming resin. Just going to open that up. I'm going to drop that onto the surface, and you should notice immediately what a beautiful shine it brings out. Okay, and that should be enough for now. Then I'm just going to take this rubber tool and I'm just going to drag it to the edges of my piece. Now because I'm using magic gloss, it does tend to pull away from the edges if you have not put enough resin on. So what I recommend doing is starting with a smallish amount, not enough to cover the piece fully in a high dome, just enough that you can scrape it up to the edges with relative ease. Carry on doing the same for your other pieces, then come back and check, see if it's pulled away from the edges, and then add more resin so you get a nice high dome. And it really is worth it, especially with pieces like this. So I'll repeat this with the other ones, then I'll put it in the UV light for about 15 minutes to get it to set nicely, and then I'll show you what the finished piece looks like. Okay, and here they are with the resin all finished. So you can see what a beautiful sheen they have now. So that's the donut, and here are the two earrings. So you can see what a beautiful colour shift they have. So I'm going to put this one to the side because I'm not going to be working with that just yet. And these ones I am going to actually flip over like so, because I'm going to be putting resin on the backs so that I can attach these two earring posts. And the resin that I'm using is this one. I do sell it on my Etsy shop. It's a resin that does not typically like to dome all that much, which works very well for this, because we just want to add on a small amount. Okay, just going to use this to hold it still. I'm just going to brush that over the surface. The reason I'm not using a brush is because it, unless you clean your brush incredibly well, it does harden, the resin does harden in the brush. And so I typically prefer to just use a rubber tool, because then once it's hardened you can just wipe it off much easier. Okay, so just cover the whole surface of both of them. Okay, then I'm just going to take one of these posts, going to squish that down, and I've got to rotate this. Just going to pop that down in there, and I'll coat that with resin in a second, and I'll get it into the right spot in just a second as well. I'll just drip a teeny bit more resin down onto the surface. Okay. Then move this into place, and then dab resin over that disc, and you can always move it back into place once you've done that, and that will give it a very nice secure hold. Okay, repeat with the other one, and then put in the UV light for 15 minutes. Okay, and so this is how they should look on the backs once you've finished up with them. Okay, that one too. So those ones are all good to go. Then I'm going to just grab some Renaissance wax. Just pop a little bit on my finger. And I'm just going to coat the back and also the sides of the donut, and then I will also coat the sides of the earrings. I'm going to buff the back of the donut, but I'm not going to buff the sides since they have a good enough finish. Okay, so let me buff that. Grab my buffing wheel. This is the buffing wheel I'm using, and a Dremel 3000. Now this makes a little bit of noise, so just prepare yourself for that. There we go, and that will just give it a little bit of a sheen. Okay, then I'll apply the Renaissance wax to the sides of my earrings and my donut. Okay, and there we go. And that's basically it. That's all you really need to do. And then you'll have some beautiful faux abalone pieces, as you can see. Now of course you can use different colours than I did. They don't have to necessarily be these colours. So feel free to play around with the different colours and just have fun. It's a lot of fun to make this. As you can see, you get a really beautiful result. And so let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.